Happy lunch hour, gang. All right, we're going to do another one of these finance videos because I know how much y'all love them, but this is important for no matter what happens, whether we go into an SHTF event or if we don't, all right? You need to understand what's going on because there's a whole lot of noise coming out, but there's not a whole lot of accurate analysis on what's going on. I'm going to go out there and say this, but hyperinflation is on the horizon. We're going to see it. You know, they're talking this morning, the U of M numbers came out and inflation's not as bad as we think about. And you guys know as well as I do that the numbers that Washington puts out are so screwed. It's like, well, we take out the volatile stuff like food and energy, and then we see what inflation is. And honestly, the way I look at it, everybody buys food and everybody buys energy, whether it's gasoline or electricity or whatever. I really don't care that the price of sewing machines didn't go up or the price of film didn't go up. But those are things that we check on, okay? But the food and the gas, no, we're not going to worry about those things. Let's talk about stuff that people buy, all right? I mean, some of you guys are old enough to remember, 50 cents a gallon of gas, okay? And believe it or not, gas, depending on where you are, most of the high prices are taxes. Go read the gas pump sometime when you're there and see how much your state charges in taxes on a gallon of gas, okay? Gas hasn't gone up nearly as much as basically everything else since, 1980, if you will. I mean, when I just got my driver's license, which was 1982, I was paying somewhere between 90 cents and $1 a gallon of gas. Okay, now I'm paying here $2.70. It's all right. That's 2.5 times as much. That ain't good, but compared to, hamburger, which has gone up, tenfold, yeah, it's different. Again, like I said, I don't care about sewing machines or rolls of film. Not like I'm buying those. But then again, those of you guys that are old enough remember this too. Maybe it's you, maybe it's your parents, but if you go back to the 80s, the 90s, not terribly long ago, certainly all our lifetime, and you look at what people were buying for retirement, okay, to save money. They were buying, a lot of them, treasury bonds. Why? You go back to, say, the late 80s, and you were getting 9% on a 30-year treasury bond. Take a look at this chart. This is a chart of 30-year treasury bonds, the yield on them, okay, not the price, because remember, the price and the yield are inverted. So as the yield goes down, the price goes up. In 1988, you were paying getting paid a little better than 9% on 30-year treasury bonds. That's good money, okay? No problem. You saved your money, you retired on that, all was said and done, you were good. The days of Carter-esque inflation were behind you. You were in the Reagan-Bush era here. Inflation was coming down and yields were up. You were happy. Back in the mid and late 90s, when I was working at Payne Weber, a now long since gone brokerage firm that was swallowed up by UBS, okay, their chief investment strategist was a guy by the name of Ed Kirshner. And Ed Kirshner was a brilliant man. And about 5 years, about 1995, somewhere thereabouts, he came out, and if you look where 1995, interest rates were still up at 8%. And Kirshner was telling everybody his line was 5 at the turn, meaning that Treasury bond yields were going to be at 5% by the turn of the century. And they're at 8% when he's making this call. Looking back, he was very, very, very correct. Because at the beginning of 2000, first week of January 2000, 30-year bonds were 4.6. Okay? Now, what happens to the price of Treasury bonds? As the yield comes down, the price goes up, right? Again, I've explained this numerous times, but if you own something that's paying 9% for $100, and now if I want to go buy something for $100, it only pays 5%, what are you asking for your 9% paper? Do you want 120 for it or something thereabouts, right? So the price goes up. Then, of course, we go through all the Gulf War, the Iraq or Afghanistan, 9/11, COVID, the housing crisis, and everything. And we all remember interest rates got down to 1%, right? Next to nothing. Nobody was buying Treasury bonds. It wasn't worth it. And so what winds up happening here? Well, in order to get Treasury bonds purchased, the Fed has to start raising rates. Trust me, they are not raising rates because they're worried about inflation for you or me. They're raising rates because they need somebody to buy the bonds to fund the government. They can jawbone, they can talk all they want about, we're trying to help the American people. Bullshit, okay? They're trying to get people to loan the government money so they can keep running. Well, the public didn't want to buy the bonds. China didn't want to buy the bonds. Japan didn't want to buy the bonds. And we have a problem here. We can't entice anybody to buy them. So what has to happen? Well, the Fed's got to borrow the money to buy the bonds. So what do? The printing press goes brrr, and they wound up buying $50 billion worth of bonds, so the government had a little bit of money to spend. This is where the problem comes in. When the money printer goes on, so does the inflation start going up. Trump wants the Fed to reduce rates, but if nobody's loaning the money to the government, and the government doesn't want to stop spending, something's got to happen, right? And this is where we wind up with inflation. So the big question comes into now is, what do you do about it? Where are you going to put your money? Keeping it in cash, we know, is a fool's game. Buying bonds doesn't work. Again, going back, your parents bought bonds, or maybe if you're old enough, you bought bonds, and now you're going, there's no bond yield. It's not worth it. I can't do it. Sorry, the full faith and credit of the United States backing it isn't any good anymore, especially seeing as how last week the Treasury bonds got downgraded to AA2. Okay. Yeah, we've got a problem. So if the government can't borrow money, and the baby boomers, who are primarily the ones who bought them, because I hate to tell you this, federal government, Gen X doesn't buy treasuries, Gen Y, Gen Z, nobody, we're not buying treasuries. There's better places to put our money. Now, let's do a comparison on this one. Let's take a look at this chart, okay? This is gold. Now, this goes back to the early 70s, and if you look from on the first inch of the screen, that was the run that gold had in the 70s. Gold was up something like 1,200% in the 70s, okay? Went absolutely nuts. Inflation was high. People were trying to protect their money somewhere. What are we talking about? Then we got into the 80s. And if you look from, so let's say on this chart, 1982 to about 2003, 20 years, gold did nothing. Why? We didn't have high inflation. Wasn't a problem. Then we wind up post 9/11, then we wind up with the housing crisis. What happens? Gold goes to the moon again, right? Because now we were in a weak money scenario where inflation was starting to go back up and gold was a safe place to be. We had all this easing and everything. Money was cheap, money was free, and gold came back down. Until about 2020. What happened in 2020? Oh, that's right. We got the biggest idiot ever to run the White House. And what did we do from 2020 to 2024? Oh, gold only went up 2.5 times because every Biden policy was to create more inflation. Now, I know you hear all these people screaming, Trump hasn't brought down inflation. He's been freaking president for 4 months. It's going to take longer than that to fix 4 years of idiocy, okay? I mean, we've got some serious shit to fix, all right? But let's take a look at a different one. Let's take a look at silver, for example, okay? And again, now silver's slightly different than gold. The silly part is silver should trade somewhere around, 80 ounces of silver should buy you 1 ounce of gold, okay? Except right now that's at about 100 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. So silver is drastically undervalued. And again, if you look at the same thing, from the mid-'80s to the early 2000s, silver did nothing. You got to take these two spikes out of the picture because those were 2 times that you had people trying to manipulate the silver market, okay? Just saying. I mean, those are outliers. Take them out. But then you've seen the same thing. We saw the spike. We saw a ramp up in silver. We saw it pull back. And we saw flat, maybe a little bit up. Then Biden got elected and silver went north. Okay? Just the way it's going to be. The problem that we have now is if the government is $36 trillion in debt, they can't borrow money. It's got to come from somewhere. We've still got all these obligations to pay. You like your Social Security check? You better hope the government can come up with some money somewhere, okay? Or any of the other programs. You like having a military? We got to pay for it somehow. All this crap, we got to get paid for. The Doge cuts were supposed to help. The Democrats, of course, stood in the way of everything, and the Republicans in Congress put their tail between their legs and did nothing, right? That's why Elon Musk spent 4 months finding all this fraud, or 3 months finding all this fraud, and Congress did nothing about it. That's a problem. So this is where the rubber meets the road, that even if the world doesn't have an EMP or go to nuclear war or whatever, the economic fallout that we all have is the dollar is going to crash. Yeah, I'll say it, okay? The dollar is going to crash. I told you about the dollar index the other day. In Trump's presidency, we've already gone from 110 to 99. All right, we've already dropped, 11% in the value of the dollar in the first 4 months. Again, we're still dealing with all these Biden disasters and the yesterday, no tomorrow crap on all these tariffs, and activist judges isn't helping. So now we have yet another reason, prepper or not, take prepping out of this altogether. Get your money and put them in hard assets. Something that's going to protect you. Whether it's gold, whether it's silver, and again, I'll say this again, whether it's Bitcoin. Something that is going to stay away from the government's hands and away from, will be your hedge against inflation. I talked about a week or so ago about some of these analysts calling for $25,000 gold, $70 silver. I can see silver being a hell of a lot more than $70, more than double from here, easy. You hear stories all over the place on Bitcoin going up, doubling, tripling, tenfold, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's all because everybody, the analysts, whether they are Peter Schiff, who loves gold and hates Bitcoin, or Michael Saylor, who loves Bitcoin and hates gold, all of them see the same thing. The dollar is dying. I mean, dose of reality. And you go into, there was something interesting that I watched this morning about home prices. In 2011, if you wanted to buy a median home, it cost you something like 111 Bitcoin or something like that. Now the same house costs you 4 Bitcoin. Same house, okay? The value of the Bitcoin has obviously gone way up, so it's less Bitcoin to buy the house. The value of the dollar has gone way down, so that house that was $200,000 is now $500,000. Takes you a whole hell of a lot more dollars. This isn't something new. It's just starting to hit accelerated pace. The Fed can tell us all they want about inflation's coming down. And like I said earlier, I don't give a shit about sewing machines and rolls of film. That doesn't make a difference. But when it's gasoline, when it's car prices, when it's food, when it's housing, when it's the stuff that we all buy, you bought a car recently? Go take a look at what you could sell it for. It's probably pretty close to what you bought it for, say a year ago, 2 years ago, because the prices keep going up and the dealers need something to sell. We all know what's going on with home prices. Home prices are, some areas doubled, tripled, okay? What's going on? They're backing off a little. But how's your paycheck going? Guaranteed your paycheck hasn't doubled or tripled. You need to protect yourself. The bond market is dying. The bond market will collapse, and that will bring down the entire U.S. economy. That will send us into hyperinflation. And when that happens, there's going to be a few people, preppers, ready for it, and a lot of people, the ones that still believe in the old school way of dealing with money, that the dollar is here to stay, are the ones left holding the bag. Please, 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 if you're going to buy anything right now, go chase some silver. Like I said, silver should trade at 80 to 1 to gold. If gold's fair valued, that means silver's underpriced by 20% right now. Neither one of them have moved much in a month, which is a good thing. It means anything you've got, you've had a chance to protect yourself with. Check your change. If you see that you've got pre-1965 dimes, quarters, whatever it is, save it. It's mostly silver, 90%, okay? Even your old nickels are 65% silver. I know we talk about money, we talk about gold and silver all the time. Some people believe in it, some people believe in Bitcoin or whatever it is. But please, don't anybody tell me that they believe in the US dollar, because the dollar is dying. Fiat is dead. We are in the middle of it, and all the media is trying to do and all the government is trying to do is, again, jawbone you, talk to you. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. How does an economy collapse? First slowly, and then quickly. We're right on the edge of the cliff, guys. Have a good afternoon. Pinball out.